Hi everyone, Aaron here for zollotech, and iOS 13.5, Developer Beta 4, and Public Beta 3 have been out for about a week and a half or so, give or take, and it's been okay on my iPhone 11 Pro Max, and I also have it on the iPhone XR, and I wanted to talk about my experience with it because I've had a few issues, but it's been mostly good, and I also wanted to talk about your experience based off the YouTube community poll because I left the same poll up that was there from last week when I did the follow-up, and there's more votes, almost I think 11,000 votes or so, and almost 200 comments. So I took all of that information again, compiled it to let you know if you should be excited for this update being stable and having good battery life and things like that. Now let's talk about the issues I had with it. We'll talk about your issues. Then we'll talk about the release date of iOS 13.5 and a few other things. So the first thing is mail seems to be pretty stable on this update for me. I know some people were having continuous issues with mail where it was showing maybe to email in here. You would go into your email and nothing would be there. But I've actually found that this update has been great with that, and I've had no issues whatsoever. And so with this particular update, it seems like email's fixed. Now keep in mind, I have email turned on fetch and push, and I have 3 email accounts associated with my mail. And what that means is it will push email as they come in and fetch it every 15 minutes, depending on what account we're talking about. And so as long as you have that turned on, when I go into email, my mail's there. If you have it set to manual, you actually have to go and refresh it yourself anyway. So as long as you have that turned on, it seems to be pretty solid for me, and I've had no issues. But I did have one major issue with my iPhone 11 Pro Max yesterday. I was actually using it. I was watching a video before I released it to YouTube. So I was just watching YouTube. And then while I was watching it, I noticed my phone got a little bit warm, not too hot, but a little bit warm here where the processor is, which can be normal. But then all of a sudden, the screen went blank and it shut off and it would not reboot. So I had to do a hard reboot to get it back. That means volume up, volume down, press and hold the power button and keep holding it until it reboots. And then it rebooted. I had to do it a couple times to get it back. So it was not perfect, but keep in mind, this is a beta and they are testing things out, and hopefully they'll have that fixed by the time it comes out to the public. Now, there were 2 new things that got released, I think yesterday. And it doesn't matter which watch update you have, but if you go into it, there's 2 new watch faces for this month. So we have this rainbow watch face, and it's the gradient one, and then we also have the numbers one. So these are new watch faces that are available, and this particular update is on everybody's watch right now. But one thing with the Apple Watch that makes us think that iOS 13.5 will be out soon is that iOS, or watchOS rather, if we go into settings, watchOS 6.2.5, you'll see here, there's version 17T608. This is known as Beta 5, and it came out unsuspectingly late at night last week. And so because of that, many people think this is the final version. There's no letter at the end, so it seems to reason that it is a final version. And so I think we're going to see iOS 13.5 this coming Tuesday. There's a couple people saying the same thing. It looks like it will be Tuesday on the 19th. There's a couple articles saying that contact tracing and things will be available on that date. So I would expect it this week. If it's not Tuesday, this week, maybe Wednesday, but expect it Tuesday. Now, since the time iOS 13.5 Beta 4 has been out, I've been using it on this device, my 11 Pro Max, and for the most part, it's been steady. You saw maybe there was a little gap here just a second ago, but for the most part, it's been pretty good. I have had a few freeze-ups as well as that lockup that I mentioned, but it's pretty few and far between, and I would think it would be fixed by the time the public version comes out. Now, many people were saying battery was better than any previous version on this particular beta. So if we take a look at my battery here, my battery health is at 98%, and that's a pretty healthy number given the amount of time I've used this since September every single day. And if we take a look at the last 10 days, I have some pretty phenomenal usage. You can see I have 5 hours and 15 minutes of screen on time, 3 hours and 8 minutes of screen off time, and I've used 50% of my battery. That means that I could go for double that basically if I continued to use it. I saw pretty good screen on time other days as well, 3.5 hours and 2 hours of screen off time. Just depends on the day that I was using it, but you'll see 4.5 hours, and I was all using it for about 50%, plugged it in at night when I was done, and that's what I had. So that's pretty good. That means we're back to that 10 to 12 hours of screen on time with the 11 Pro Max like you would expect. So Whatever issues were happening with the previous beta, it seems like they've been fixed in this. Most people are saying the same thing. Now, most of you have said over the past week or so, just like I've been having good battery life, you've been having good battery life. So that's a good sign. Apple's fixed whatever was draining it. And again, it's a beta, so it should be fixed by the time it's released to the public. And then some of you were still saying you were having lagging and screen freezes, issues with Bluetooth. But many of you were saying, or a few of you were saying, that the phone is not getting warm. So you're not having issues with it heating up or anything like that. But some of you were still having issues with mail not showing properly. But other than that, it seems like most of the bugs have been fixed and most people are having a decent experience. So here are all the issues mentioned, whether good or bad. So you'll see there's 43 mentions of battery based off the comments in the community poll. And most people are saying that it's good battery life, but there's 43 mentions, and that could be people mentioning it multiple times. Also, here's all the devices that you're using in the community poll. So if you let me know in the comments, I counted the device, and this is what most people are using. And when I say that the performance and battery life is very good, it generally carries across all devices. Occasionally, the iPhone 7 is the odd one out, but the iPhone XR, for example, seems to be the same experience as any of the other phones. So if you have a 6S, a 6S Plus, an iPhone SE, the second generation iPhone SE, any of those phones seem to be doing quite well with this particular beta. Now let's take a look at the YouTube community poll. I'll read a few comments since there are some new ones over the past week, and let's see what you had to say. Now you can see there's 11,000 votes, so I really appreciate everyone that's voted, and 14% of you said it's great. 2% of you said it's terrible, 5% said okay but some bugs. So these numbers, even though we have almost double the votes since the last update or follow-up update, it's still 7% still having issues or seeing it as terrible. But 60% of you have not updated yet. And so you're waiting for the public version or just not going to update in general. And 19% of you are using Android. So thanks again for commenting. Now I've sorted these comments by the newest, so let's take a look at a few of them. The first one says, I'm having a lot of Bluetooth issues with betas, Solo Pro, and I'm having issues with voice commands on HomePod, or Beats Solo Pro there. It says, I'm using iPhone 11 Pro Max and it's stable for me, but could use some improvements on some stuff, but it's what I expected for a beta, so I can't complain about it. No actual bugs so far, but scrolling is not as smooth on some apps like Twitter, Spotify, and Reddit. Not sure if this is due to those apps, but drop frames when scrolling seem to be more frequent. iPhone XS. It's meh. I'm having issues with the animations when going home. The screen will freeze occasionally, and sometimes the apps don't even show up. I'm using an iPhone XR. Using it on my 2017 iPad and still having the same email issue. Emails won't show up or load. I'm using it on an iPhone 7. Battery life has been really, really good. I've been using it for the last few minutes, and it hasn't even gone down to 99% from 100%. Maximum battery capacity is 88% with peak performance. It says, sorry for giving my opinion after the video has already gone up, and installed it just after the video had been uploaded. It says, I can't believe what I'm reading here. Even iPhone 11, which is supposed to have the best performance, it's a mess. People here are like, oh, I have a lot of bugs, but my Wi-Fi is now working, so that's awesome. It says we pay a lot of the phones, and I read through this entire thing, but keep in mind, this is a beta, so this is not a public release we're talking about. There are bugs, and they're to be reported. So if you want to stay on a more stable public release, then you should have less bugs. It doesn't mean it will be perfect, but you should have less. Using an iPhone 10 and feel much smoother experience, battery is improved, RAM management is okay, heating issue is resolved, and overall experience is good. iPhone 11, this has been one of the better betas for me. Good battery life, everything seems to be working well. Truly appreciate and enjoy your videos. Thank you. And we'll read a couple more because then they start getting into the previous versions of ones I read before. So you'll see it says iPhone 11 Pro Max, 256 gold, running iOS 13.5, newest beta, and it's running perfectly. Nothing wrong here on my end. iOS 13.5 was okay on my iPhone SE. After the update, I had issues where the home screen would stutter, but then once it was installed longer, I didn't have issues with that. Then I also had problems with mail where I would get email, and then when I would open it, there would only be one on the indicator mail icon, and I finally got it to go away. And I'll read one more comment that I keep hearing from people with iPhone 7s, and I don't know if they're on the beta or not, but it says iPhone 7, rear camera, full blackout, coming, please give any suggestion. The only thing you can do is reboot if the camera's having issues. So You'll have to actually reboot the phone. Hopefully it fixes the issue with the camera being blanked out. I haven't seen this on any other phones, the iPhone XR, and I haven't heard it on any other phones other than the iPhone 7. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments below if you have an iPhone 7 or another iPhone where the camera's not working in a beta. But let me know in the comments below. Now, like I said before, with iOS 13.5, I would expect it probably on the 19th of this month. So expect it sometime in that time frame. And then, of course, we'll see iOS 14 beta 1 later in June. So whether or not we see other iOS 13 betas in between is hard to say. I would bet there'll be another one, maybe a 13.5.1 or something like that. And of course, I'll keep you updated if we have those. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description as I always do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.